Thank God for Maria in this world. Thank God for Maria. I mean,
We'll
you're a
make it up,
coach.
man.
You don't need this stuff. You got more than enough things to do. Thank God for you. I'm glad you reached out to me, by the way, because I would have not even have known. I was just coming over. I was just coming over to like chime in, and I saw your text. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, UConn. First of all, I don't know where you want to go first, women or men, because there's two polar different things going on, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
I mean, I guess we could start women until
Yeah.
Joe jumps on. He said he had to email the link to himself.
Oh,
he's calling me now. Hold on 1 second.
You got it. Well, I'll preface it with this. So one of the interesting things in UConn's women's loss to Tennessee, which I thought was really interesting, was Gino's post-game conference and how he addressed. To me, that was the most. I mean, obviously the game was a it was a wild game. It was a great game. We could not finish, and they did, but what was interesting was Gino's almost questioning of Paige Bueckers, which I actually had texted. I might have texted Steve this. I said, is Gino and Maria are they kindred spirits or something? Because what he was saying in the post game conference, if you replace Gino and put you in there answering the questions from that post game conference, I think that the answers would have been that you would have said that almost exactly what he said in that post game conference. Joe, by the way, I apologize. I have no idea. I had no idea that you guys were not started. I do a pod before this, so I had no idea. I'd sent it over to Steve. Supposedly Steve was in the hospital, so that's what he sent me a message after me calling him 100 times. I have no idea.
All right.
I
can only stay till noon.
What's that?
I can only stay till noon. I had told
him. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, and then I was jumping over just to jump on from my other pod, and I saw Maria's message.
Let's do it.
We're already started. So, and here's Steve. So we already started. So what I said was we started with the women. I said what was the most interesting thing was beyond the game was Gino's press conference after, where he addressed Paige Bueckers and kind of her performance and kind of that. And I said I thought that Maria and Gino were like kindred spirits in the sense that I would have, if Maria had replaced Gino there on stage, that's what Maria would have said about the performance. So I don't know, Maria, if you want to start to chime in there about her performance in the game, and you kind of questioned a lot of things, the ability to make the plays at the end and to be willing to make those plays.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I mean, I think the game went exactly as how I thought it was going to go. I thought it would be like 7-8 points either way. And, I think UConn could have won that game. Honestly, I just think we ran out of gas at the end. I think we were playing a little too fast for a good portion of the game, and it caught up to us. But I think the big thing that I took away from the game is that, Paige yet again has shied away from the big moments a little bit. She passed off some opportunities that I thought she should have stepped up and took in some big spots. She did hit a big 3 towards the end, but it just wasn't enough. And I think that, if we're going to win those types of games, like if we're going to go down to South Carolina on Sunday, she's got to come out and put her footprint on the game really, really early and just have a bigger impact. Because I do also think it's hard to get going at the end, especially when you're tired. I thought KK Arnold thrived in the speed, which I thought she would. So she did get more minutes. El Affy had, diminished minutes a little bit, which I figured would happen because it's just too fast of a pace. But I think we just still got some stuff to figure out in terms of what's going to be our identity when we come down to those crunch time situations. And I don't think that the Tennessee game answered any of those questions yet.
Sarah Strong in her ability to take over the game, is she ready for that role? I mean, because that's almost like what Gino starts to say is like, am I in a position that I've got to shift some of that to her, because he's questioning. I was kind of shocked to see him question in public like that. But he's outright questioning Paige Bueckers. I don't know if that's a motivational. You would know better than me if that's a motivational technique. But it seems to me that like he's ready to put it in somebody else's hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sarah can do it. I think she wants to. I think that there's kind of like this underlying unspoken, do I want to step on Paige's toes type of situation? Yeah. But I think they're to the point where if she wants to win, she can't really worry about that. And AZ Fudd was not great again. So I think I'm not surprised Gino did it in public, because I think, it's all stuff that he's been talking about for the last couple of years. Hopefully it motivates Paige. I don't know, because I do feel like he's hinted to some of this stuff in the past, and, nothing's really changed. So right. I guess we'll see. They play St. John's tonight. They'll steamroll them, I think. And then we'll see on Sunday. South Carolina just dropped one too. So I think, I think that hurts us a little bit, because I think they're going to come out guns blazing at home. I really wish that they won. But just a lot of unanswered questions in terms of like who is our person that we got to feed the ball to in crunch time. And I don't know. I just don't know if it's Paige anymore.
Do you think any of that has to do with her attention to detail? Do you think that Gino's frustrated with any of that stuff? Is there attention to details with respect to the game, and not some of the outside stuff that's going on? Or do you think it's just he's questioning, can she do it? You know what I mean? So is it a commitment? Is it a commitment thing, or is it a can she do it thing? It's
Maria, it's her killer instinct thing.
Well, I think
talked about that.
I mean, I think it's really simple, right? I think that some players who are really, really great just don't have the ability to be kind of like that non-human robot factor like we've seen in the past, like Steve, I said it to you yesterday. There was a possession where Paige caught it at the top of the key. She had a wide open shot. She kicks it to 10 on the wing instead. If that's me on the wing in 2003, 2004, like, not that Diana doesn't have confidence in me, but she's taken that 100 out of 100 times, and she should, right? So I think that when you see some of that stuff, and that wasn't like too deep in the game. That was like what, end of third quarter, Joe?
I think so. I don't remember.
But I think, when you see stuff like that, you kind of scratch your head like, is she capable? Is she afraid to miss the shot? Is she just not thinking about it? Does she have that ability? She hasn't really shown that in any big game situation yet. So I think that we're in that territory now. We're like, can she, or does she want to be? I don't know.
And she wants to facilitate more than anything. I mean, she had 8 assists. She always passes the ball away to somebody else. Anytime she gets a shot, she'll pass it away to somebody else. She doesn't want to be the person to say, hey, I'm going to put the team on my back. I'm going to take over the game like some of the stars of the past. And that's what is so frustrating to see. Put the team on your back, take the game over, score the points that's needed, and win the game. That's what we've had in the past from all the stars, from Stewie to Maya Moore to Dee. She can do that. She's not. And I don't know why she's not doing it, but she is passing it off and giving it to somebody else, and that somebody else is not making the plays needed. Joe, do you disagree with that?
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly, okay. Well, what would you like to say?
I don't know.
You think she's capable of being that person,
capable, Steve? Of course she is.
But she's just not doing it.
Well, it's the same thing as with Alex Caribbean with the men. These
Yeah.
are two players who everybody wanted to step up, and neither of them have.
Right. And there's no way to actually make them step up. In their minds, they have to make a decision. I'm going to step up. I'm going to show what I can do. I'm going to put this team on my back in the times needed and take over the game so we don't lose. That's the mentality. That's the winner mentality that we've had in the past with some of our stars that we don't have now.
I don't know that she has also, even though Sarah Strong is obviously going to be a superstar and is already on her way to doing that, I don't know that she has a lot of some of the other pieces that were there in a lot of the other championship teams.
With their game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the second, the Sarah Strong is a freshman. She's doing a lot of things from that standpoint that are elite for a freshman to do. But in the past, there's been other second people that have been able to take over the game. I mean, when you had Diana Taurasi, Maria, you had Sue Bird, there are multiple different people that were able to take over the game if the star was not in that position to do so. Multiple elite stars, and I don't think, just watching the game, other than Sarah Strong, I don't know that there are multiple elite stars on that team. I think there's Sarah Strong, there's Paige Bueckers, and then there's role players on the team that do their role very well, but I don't think they can take over the game or at least haven't shown to be able to take over the game and make that kind of an impact.
Yeah,
Well,
and AZ has to step up.
I think AZ Fudd could take over a game, Dave. I just don't think she's physically able to right now. I think she's still hurting.
Well, right. Well, then that's the point we're at, right? So, and does that change in the NCAAs as she gets better? But I think that's what they need. I think Paige cannot do it without another superstar to be able to take over. And I think and you're right, Maria. That might be the difference between obviously is the difference between Diana and everybody else is that she could obviously do that. And that's probably the biggest glaring difference between Diana and Paige. But Paige is a superstar, but does not have all of those other options, and at least at this point, and maybe that plays into it.
I just think, I think that we have a capable team. I think we have enough to win if everybody is playing the way that they're capable of playing. I just haven't seen that yet really this year in any of the games that have really mattered. I mean, early on they had a couple of nice wins, but I think as of late, it just looks like a team that's
Well, it's like you said, it's playing the Big East Conference schedule that you think
but I don't even okay, so you're supposed to win those games, right? And you're blowing people out and all of that stuff. I think that Gino's biggest gripe with Paige is that she's saying she wants all this on her, right? She's basically getting paid, right, through all these different endorsements and NIL to be that person. Then you got to put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I think that's his frustration a little bit, is that he knows that she's capable of doing it. But for whatever reason, I would say physically capable, mentally not willing yet, or just not. I don't know.
Joe, I know you gotta bounce.
I can spare a few extra minutes.
What do you think about this week with the women taking on St. John's, and then the game of the year for them playing South Carolina at South Carolina?
I think they beat St. John's, and I think they get clobbered by South Carolina.
You think it's gonna be just a beat down from South Carolina?
Well, I guess that's what clobber means, Steve.
Yeah, I hear you, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to steamroll St. John's. I already said that. I don't know that they get clobbered by South Carolina, but I think it's going to be really hard for us to win. I wouldn't be surprised if we got clobbered. Let's put it that way.
Well, what have you seen against the better teams that would have you believe that they wouldn't get clobbered by South Carolina?
South Carolina's not going to play as fast as Tennessee, and we did hang in there a little bit. I think El Afi has to play really well on Sunday.
The pacing will help. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because their post player is pretty good. I don't know. I guess my faith in Gino tells me that they won't get clobbered. My faith in the girls.
He's not chopped liver.
I agree, but I think he'll make enough adjustments to not get clobbered. But I don't know that we win that game on Sunday. If I'm a betting person, I say we lose, maybe by 10.
Right.
It's a tough place to play. They're going to be going nuts. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we got clobbered either. I really wouldn't. This team has been a little bipolar a little bit with the way that they play. So I could see it going either way. I hope we have a good showing. But again, like I said, South Carolina just lost too. So they're coming out guns blazing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's going to be tricky. Joe, what do you see for the men playing Seton Hall and Villanova?
Well, hold on. Before we go to that, McNeely's performance.
Right.
38 points. I think it was 38 points.
36.
36 was 36. That was a huge breakout for McNeeley. I mean, that's when and Hurley on his way out certainly let Creighton know that too as well.
Well, why do you do that? What's the need to do that?
I'm curious your thoughts on that. Yeah.
I think if you're Dan Hurley, you don't need to do that.
Especially since McNeeley is his breakout game. Like the shine
was right. It was 38.
It was 38. Yeah.
I guess I must have lost 2 points while waiting to get on.
You're darn right. And Steve owes you an apology, by the way. He still owes all of us an apology today. We'll wait for that at the end. There's no doubt. McNeeley, I was surprised that Hurley did that, meaning it looked to me like basically what happened was UConn, for the first time, and obviously with McNeeley scoring the way he did, had a situation where it was a bona fide breakout for him as a freshman, and then got into it with the Creighton fans, who it was a sparsely populated group of people at the end there too. It wasn't like it was the whole crowd there. It was just, it was already it was out on the way towards the UConn side. It was a handful of Creighton fans that were getting at him. Does that take away from that win? In your opinion?
Not at all. No, okay. Not at all. But it's just not necessary.
Yeah. Is that part of his tactic?
Yes, it's part of who he is.
Yes,
that's part of who he is.
He's fired up like that. He's going to be fired up like that. And
is McNeeley is McNeeley playing like that? The piece that can make the difference for them having a chance to win another one?
But they can't win another one.
You don't think they're good enough?
The three-peat crap has to stop. They're not winning another national championship. They don't have enough pieces.
They don't have enough pieces.
Let's call it as it is. There's not enough pieces on this team. Okay. McNeely's great. He was great before last night.
Right.
He showed last night just how terrific he could be. I would make him my point guard going forward, and I'd bring Diarra off the bench and tell Aiden Mahaney, enjoy the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're making. Okay. I would play Ball at the 2, Stewart at the 4, at 3, Alex at the 4, and combine the 2 kids in the middle. And then I'd bring Diarra off the bench. I'd play Ross when I needed a defensive player, and I'd play Mahaney for 5 minutes a game. And that would be it. And that's not enough to win a national championship.
I think you're right. McNeeley playing like that, it's Diarra should just be a spark off the bench. Because he's hurt. And he can score 10 to 12 points too without having that responsibility when he's at point, he also has a big responsibility to be able to distribute the ball, probably make all the great decisions. When he was that spark off the bench, he literally was a spark. I mean, he came off, he scored, he had the freedom to really just play and not have to he didn't have that level of responsibility. And I think that, even though he's played really good at times with Mcneeley back, I don't see it. And ball, coming off the screen is deadly. I mean, coming off the screen and shooting is absolutely deadly. And but I think the issue really is if they have those pieces inside, they're not as good at the 5, even though those guys are playing better. They're just not as good as they were at the 5 spot, which you get into the NCAAs, I think is going to be an important position to be able to really dominate. And I think that as a combined group, they're good. They're much better than they were. But they're not where Creighton was. I mean, he's such a difference maker. He, to me, last year was a big scorer and a big defensive player, but he was also the glue as far as morale wise for the team. Much like the year before, the center Creighton was the backup, and I can't think of his name now.
Sonogo.
Was the center. He was that way as well. He was the glue for that team. And I think that's the only thing they're missing inside. And if you get a team that can effectively go down low against you, that could be a problem.
Well, I think there's a lot of issues as far as trying to win a national championship are concerned, which is why
I think they just a lot of issues trying to get through the Big East. I mean, you've seen so far.
Look. Here's the thing: they went 2-1 in the toughest 3-game stretch of the season, which is about as well as anybody could expect them to. They beat Marquette, they lost at home to St. John's, and then they won at Creighton, which they'd never done before. So let's not undersell what they've done in the past, however long it's been, 2 weeks. Okay, but this 3P talk is just nonsense. You look at that; they're not even ranked in the top 25.
Nope,
they're out. They're out for the first time.
And if they're an 8 or a 9 seed, they're going to have to. If they win the first game, they're going to have to play a number 1 seed.
Did you think St. John's was an elite team? Watching their game against them, did you think St. John's was really an elite team? I mean, it looked to me like that St. John's outquicked them in a lot of areas, and were
pressured the hell out of them. No, they're not elite. They're really good, but they're not elite.
Right. The pressure was such an issue for UConn because they were so quick, and once they had a hard time getting the ball around at that point. And Creighton is not as quick as St. John's is, and it's almost a better matchup for them. But any teams that have that kind of elite guard like Marquette, even though they had the huge lead, that almost collapsed because of the quick play of the guards. Now Mcneeley obviously is a big guard. If he's playing the point, it becomes a big guard, which is a matchup issue, no doubt, offensively for the other guards. But defensively, do you think that it would still be difficult for Mcneeley? Did they have to switch on defense in order to play against quick guards and have Mcneeley move off?
Well, I mean that's one of the challenges if you play him at the point, because Ball's still not a very good defender. Stewart's an average defender. The 2 centers are average defenders. Caravan is a very good defender. But yeah, that would be an issue. But I would give him the ball and say, "Here, go." Maria, what do you think?
I 100% agree.
The best chance for them winning is to give him the ball and say, "Here, be Cooper Flag."
Yeah. Yep. Does
I
that?
got you.
And like the contrast too, like, you got Mcneeley. That kid wants the ball,
right?
Like he wants to do everything that you're saying. Like that, I think that's the difference between like him on the men's side and Paige on the women's side. Like this guy is like, give me the freaking ball. I want to make all the big plays. I'm ready to make all the big plays. We don't have that person yet on the women's side. So I agree, Joe. I mean, I would if I'm Hurley, I'm saying have at it. What other choice do you really
go
have?
play.
Yeah,
Here, go
you have no
play.
other choice.
Is he if he plays at that level the rest of the year, is he going to be gone at the end of the year? If he
It
plays
doesn't
at
matter
that,
if he doesn't, he's going to be gone.
you think so? He's definitely going to be gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They recruited him knowing he was going to be 1-0.
Yeah. That's going to put Hurley in he's going to have to get another guy like that next year, right?
Well, they already have a pretty good recruiting class, but
okay.
We'll see how it turns out when they get here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The 2 McDonald's All-Americans, you said, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But as far as the Big East goes, do you see them finishing strong before the tournament?
No, they still have to play off. They still have to play St. John's and Marquette.
St. John's again. Yeah.
They didn't beat Villanova. Seton Hall stinks. They beat Seton Hall twice. So,
they have to beat Villanova. Do you think they actually can beat St. John's?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't like I said, I don't think St. John's is a super team, but they've got to come up with a way to solve that pressure that St. John's puts on them.
And if St. John's
they got a foul trouble. All the wonks on Twitter always complain about the foul trouble. Well, if it happens every game, it's not the referee's fault all the time.
Right. And the turnovers are an issue. Although they were better in this game, but I think that goes to your point that the Diarra, Mcneeley at the point will create, I think, a more stable situation overall from that standpoint, and potentially a better scoring situation. The guy who wants to score has the ball in his hands to start it out. So I mean, you don't have to work. He distributes accordingly, and then he scores accordingly. And I think that puts them in a good situation. With Hurley Stick, I'm curious about this because I know it motivates him. I believe he feels it motivates his team. Does that? Do you think that plays at all more and more to the referees as an issue? I mean, does that? You've been around a long time. Does a coach that has that level of brashness to him all the time? Does that have an effect on the officials?
Well, I mean, look, he's gotten away with a lot this year. I mean, I would have heated him up 4 times at different times. And I think it depends who the official issue. It depends. It depends what the official's demeanor is. You might get some officials who haven't done one of his games before and get taken aback by what he says to them during the games. So
because he doesn't do a lot of massaging of the officials. Like Gino gets excited, but he does massaging. You know what I mean? Like kind of there's a back and forth play to it, right? And in basketball, I think that's a big thing. Like there's like a give and take because the officials are right there on top of you at all times. They hear every single thing you say, but he doesn't do a ton of the massaging. It is a lot more of getting after them, getting after the coach, the other coach's coach, if need be, and get that part of it versus and you utilizing it all about like us against the world as far as from a program standpoint. Which it's obviously you can't argue with the results as far as national championships go, but as far as like how does that play out long term? Within the Big East and within the dynamics of officiating, because having coached for a long time and officials that you're around over and over again, and when you've gotten on a guy and you see them again, like that guy's quick with you. He's quick. He already sees your face and he's already in the mode of that. He's quick with you. I think. Yeah, well, it's not even deal with it. It's do you get like basketball is so much about. Look, you could call something on every play in basketball, right? And it's so much about like the ebb and the flow of the game, and certain things can go awry very, very quickly from that standpoint, and you get a bunch of calls and you're down big. And I don't know if that that plays into some of the potential struggles down the line.
Well, I mean, not to be I don't know what the right word is I'm looking here, but it's just we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe the officials are used to it, and he's got to go to get a technical. But I just think that at some point it has a cumulative effect.
Right. There's no doubt about it. So where do they end up? Well, I mean, can they win the Big East? Can they ride that tournament and be flawless through a tournament with this team?
Yeah, I think they can.
If they get hot, absolutely.
Do I expect it? No. Do I think they can? Yeah.
Maria?
I agree. I mean, I think Hurley's proven over the last couple of years that he can get them to play a really special way come postseason. So I could see them winning the tournament. I don't know, Joe. They're probably pretty close to not being able to win regular season, right? If they drop one more.
I think they have 4 losses and St. John's has 1. So I think they're pretty close to that. I mean, all you want to do is you want to be if you're the number 4 seed, then you get the first day off and you get to play somebody not very good, the 5-12 winner in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So, all right, I gotta go.
All right, Joe. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
You owe Joe a big apology, my friend. You owe Maria one.
I do.
You give Maria one, a public one, since you give everybody else public apologies. You don't have to give me an apology because I'll deal with that another time. But
yeah,
Maria, I apologize for being late. I fell down the stairs and had a concussion, and was in the hospital, and I just got home. So,
well, I hope you're feeling better.
Oh, I feel spectacular.
I
didn't do it on purpose.
No, I'm assuming you didn't do it on purpose. No,
I did it when I was doing Shane's show last night. I was rushing down the stairs, and it was fun.
Well, you need to take care of yourself, my friend, because that's the most important thing. None of this other stuff.
Yeah,
none of this other stuff. Remember, none of this other stuff matters. Me and Maria could do podcasts to the end of time together, and we'll laugh our ass off. And but if you don't take care of yourself, then you won't be here to do any of this stuff. It's not how many podcasts you do. Okay.
No.
I know you're trying to do 9,000 things with 9,000 people and all that kind of stuff, but it's all taking care of yourself, and the quality of what you're doing is more important. No doubt more important. You know what I mean? Because that's the last thing you need is that you're trying to do all these different things and putting yourself under unnecessary pressure.
No, it was my own fault. Greg Smoot commented and said that he loves us and he loves the show. Greg Smoot, please go home. You got to go home. Stop driving around in your car. We need you to go home, please.
All right. Well, Maria, we're gonna hop off Maria. Maria, the only thing I want to know is what you're munching on, because now I'm hungry for lunch because I'm ready for lunch right now. What do you got there?
So good.
Oh,
Oat Crunch.
Really good. I'm
what
starving, and I have to run into another meeting now, so I figured I'd just eat a couple just to curb my appetite a little bit.
I've never seen Cheerios Oat Crunch.
So good.
They
best
got
one.
They got
really?
Game today, right, Maria?
Yeah.
Yes, I remembered that.
All right, well,
today.
Maria, all right, guys.
Have a great day, Maria.
Dave, are we ever going to do Conlin's Corner again? What's going on, man?
I'm good whenever you want to do it.
All right.
Fridays.
Whenever.
All right, we'll do Friday.
Whenever she has time.
I don't know what your schedule is with games. I mean, if it's.
I play tonight. I play Saturday, and then our last thing is next Saturday. Really
What's
three
hard
more games.
for me is I think I do almost all my stuff like back to back in the morning. So I go if I don't usually I have a 10 a.m. almost at least 3 or 4 days a week with that prospect podcast, and then I put this after that. So I'll do 11:30 or 12. But once it gets past that part, other than on Monday when I do this Rebel Republic thing, once I get past and I go into like once I get to 1, I'm literally I have to do some of my actual bigger paying
hear ya.
stuff. You know what I mean? So I have to go and do all that stuff. So if you have a games on Fridays, like we could go to a different day. You know what I mean? I don't know what your
No, I
schedule.
play on Saturdays and I practice late on Fridays, but last week we traveled on Friday, so it was tough.
Yeah, because they had to go to Maine.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
I just text me and say, hey, this is a schedule that is
Okay.
something that's fairly consistent because it's easier for me if it's pretty consistent.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Versus because once I get to like 132 I run a lot of events in the weekends, so I end up doing that between that and my son's stuff. So and now I'm getting to the spring, which I'm going to be doing. I'll be gone almost every weekend in the spring, starting in like March with camps and stuff. So, so easier it is to like lock it in day wise, then it'll be easier for me.
All right, cool. Sounds
All right,
good.
all right,
guys.
Maria. All right,
Good luck.
bye.
Good
Enjoy
luck.
the rest
Good
of the
luck
week.
tonight.
Thanks. Bye.
Good luck tonight.